HBO's The Last of Us returns with a new season on Max. Every path has a price. 5 years after the events of the first season, Joel and Ellie are drawn into conflict with each other in a world even more dangerous than the one they left behind. CNN calls The Last of Us exquisite, fully realized, and worthy of the hype. The new season of the HBO original series, The Last of Us, premieres April 13th on Max. And listen to the official The Last of Us podcast wherever you get your podcasts.
Building a portfolio with Fidelity Basket Portfolios is kind of like making a sandwich. It's as simple as picking your stocks and ETFs, sort of like your meats and other topics, and managing it as one big, juicy investment. Now that's pretty good. Learn more at fidelity.com/baskets. Investing involves risk, including risk of loss. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC. Member NYSE SIPC.
Hello, hello. Welcome back to Lovely. I'm your host, Mehak, and happy Friday. I would be lying if I said I wasn't excited for this one. I have someone really special joining me today. But before we get into it, I love to give you all a little life update. I went on a date earlier this week. This is my second date of 2025. And honestly, even if nothing comes out of it, I still need to share this story because I have already told this to two of my friends. And when it actually happened to me, I was like, no way. This was literally the epitome of invisible string theory. So we're sitting, we went for dinner, we went for drinks, and we're talking about travel plans. He's like, oh, are you traveling anywhere? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to Mexico City in May. He's like, no way. I'm going to Mexico City in May too. I was like, okay, cool. What a coincidence. I was like, yeah, I try to do one big trip every year. So 2 years ago, I did LA and Palm Springs. And last year I did Greece, and now I'm doing Mexico City. And he's like, wait, when were you in Greece? And I was like, oh, last year I went end of August, beginning of September. And then he literally just pushes the table away. He's like, no, I was there end of August, September. I was like, okay, where did you go? And he's like, oh, I went to Mykonos. I'm like, I was in Mykonos too. I was like, when were you there? He was like, I was there September 1st and 2nd. I was like, okay, this is getting weird now. I was there September 1st and 2nd. I'm like, did you go to Scorpios? Because Scorpios is this big day club in Mykonos. He's like, yeah, I went to Scorpios. And I was like, did you see Desiree? It was the one night I didn't have a reservation at Scorpios. It's so hard to get in. It's the biggest night. It was their final closing season, and I just happened to be there. And he was there too. And we're literally showing each other videos where we were in the exact same spot, just watching this DJ, but we never crossed paths. And then a year later, we matched on a dating app, and now we're eating sushi together. Sorry, I feel like maybe you're not into oh my God, it's a sign or whatever, but I feel like that's the universe screaming. Overall, date went well. Let you know if there's any update. But like I said, I'm just enjoying the process of dating because I just got back into it. Okay, today's episode is all about living life outside the box. It is about owning the fallout, the freedom, and the fierce clarity that comes with doing life your way. And today's guest doesn't just talk about living life outside the box. I feel like she ripped the box apart and just set it on fire. She is a producer, a writer, a voice artist, a stand-up comedian, and a podcaster. She's also worked with big names like Disney, Netflix, Peacock, so many more. She's voiced a lot of characters in games like Fallout and Starfield, and also spent the last few years asking real questions about love and commitment on her podcast called Kinda Dating.
You changed my life because I think we did this podcast to help others. It's you held us accountable. Are we living and the stuff that we're preaching? And so, I think just this whole episode of looking back and going wow, we really changed. Is a testament to you guys.
So in short, she's been doing the work, telling the stories, and paving the way for brown girls who want to do life differently. Natasha Chendal. Welcome to Lovely. How are you?
Hey, Mehak. I'm great. How are you?
So happy to have you on the podcast today. And I was reading a little bit of your highlight reel. You've been kind of all over the place. Dubai, Mumbai, Toronto. You were raised in Toronto?
I was raised in Toronto, Mississauga.
I live in Toronto.
Maybe we're meant to be.
Right? We've crossed paths. Exactly.
Were we at the same club on King Street?
Maybe. Oh my God. I feel like I say that I've retired from King Street, but somehow I almost end up back there.
Oh, who's retired from King Street? Where else do people go now? I don't know. What are the cool clubs? I'm never in Toronto.
Do you know Ossington?
Oh, Ossington. Okay.
Yeah. Queen Street is decent too. But, Dundas is pretty up and coming. They have little small intimate bars. Yeah. When were you here last?
Oh man, it's been at least a year.
Okay. And where are you now?
I live in LA now. Yeah. So after Toronto, I moved to New York and then LA. So kind of all over.
What caused that shift from East Side to West Coast?
Work. I'm constantly driven by work, as you can see from my annoyingly overachieving Indian resume. I wanted to be in scripted television, and that's mostly out in LA. And so I came out here. And speaking of work, when your followers watch this on video, you're going to be like, why is this chick dressed in I have never worn a button-up shirt. This is the only button-up shirt I own. And it's because I had an audition as a sheriff. It was a deputy sheriff vibe. And I saw that they wear a green jacket and a button-up. And I was like, oh my God, find a button-up. Because I am a comedian. I'm always in hoodies and sweatshirts. Yeah, guys, I'm going to nerd out with you today.
Well, you look the part, so I'm manifesting you get the role. Apparently, my manifestation powers are really strong because on an episode, 2 episodes ago, my guest was like, I'm manifesting a rancher. And I'm like, I'm manifesting a rancher for you. The next day, a rancher on a dating app messages her and she's like, all I want is this rancher to have cows, and he has cows. So
oh my gosh, girl, manifest this for me. Let's do this. This one is a big one. Just manifest that I book this audition.
Totally. Sending you all the good vibes.
Thank you.
Is anyone out there?
Another salesperson enduring the endless search. Exhausting. If you want to get right to the right conversations, you need LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Whether you're looking for new leads or strengthening existing relationships at your top accounts, get right to the right conversations with LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Try LinkedIn Sales Navigator now with a free 60-day trial at linkedin.com/trial. That's linkedin.com/trial.
Terms and conditions apply!
Natasha, it feels like you are a global citizen. You've moved around so much. Would love to hear, what is your connection to immigrant identity?
I'm an immigrant through and through. Of course, I'm Indian, but I have been raised all over the world or lived all over the world. But I always say that everything in my background changes, but the Indianness doesn't. That's the one thing I kind of carry with me. So when somebody says where are you from? I say I'm Indian. That's my identity first. But of course, I came to Canada when I was 7, and then I came to the States, and I'm a dual citizen now. So I feel very the whole world is one big home, but India is the homeland, if that makes sense. I love actually going back and hearing that people speak the same language. And sometimes I look around, I'm like, oh my gosh, for once, I'm not other. And it's nice, I mean, I'm other because we're Firangs, but other than that.
I feel like I'm in the same boat because I'm Pakistani and I was raised in Texas and then moved here. And then now my entire family moved back to Texas. So, so many different spots. It's but you still got to remember your roots. And I always, say I'm Pakistani, true and true. So, yeah.
100%.
Do you feel all that movement shaped the way you see yourself?
Of course. I mean, I very much say that I have an ability to be able to bring a very diverse perspective to everything because I have lived all over the world. So I don't have this singular mentality of like the world functions this way. I've really seen it from so many different points of view. As a TV writer, a lot of my work is very diverse, and it's because I don't have the typical South Asian American experience, which was a lot of South Asians in America feel like they were the only South Asian in a town of white people. And I really didn't have that experience because I grew up in Mississauga, and like being surrounded by brown people is like an everyday Tuesday, you know? So it just shows, though, that my world was very diverse of all different backgrounds, orientations. So I really try to reflect that in all of my work. And I'm proud that I can do that versus a lot of other people who've never even gone outside of America.
The one thing that I love about Toronto and Canada is there is so much diversity and so much diversity of thought within all of these diverse perspectives. Again, going back to like staying true to your roots, right? And there's certain things that I don't know about you, but like my parents are like, even though we're in Canada or we're in America, like these are the things that are done and these are the ways that we do it. And I know you haven't stuck to those rules or blocks. You've done things differently. I've done things differently. And I was reading on your website that you said you broke your Indian parents early. Tell me about that. What's the backstory behind it?
Well, I mean, I just knew I had a very controlling Indian dad, and I was never allowed to date or go out. And the thing was, I never did anything bad. I didn't like do drugs or like I didn't even drink. I just wanted to go out and have fun like normal kids did. And because he wouldn't let me, I was like, great, I'm gonna make like a long game plan of breaking his spirit so that one day when I do want to do what I want, they'll be okay with it. And so when I was 15, I told them I didn't want to get married. I didn't want to be with an Indian guy. And then at one point I said I was a lesbian. And I did it so that, you know, again, then by the time, like think about it. When you do that, by the time you actually say you're into dudes, they're like, hey, great, anybody, like awesome. And like by the end of like before I met my now husband, insane. 2 years before that, my mom sat me down and she was just like, Beta, is there anyone? Because we would love to meet him or her. Like, and I was just like, oh, this is so great. This is the best day ever. Like, I broke them so much that she's just like, anybody is going to be fine, even a woman. And then I felt like at one point it was just like, is he breathing? Like, cool. So for me, like, my parents knew that, like, they knew when I had boyfriends. Because when I was young, I used to lie to them a lot, and like every kid. And through high school, I had a boyfriend, and you know, you're so silly as a kid. You're holding the phone next to your ear, and you know you can hear the voice on the other end. But when you're a teenager, you don't think that your parents can hear the voice on the other end. So of course, it was a dude who was my high school boyfriend, and my dad was like, "Who are you talking to?" And I was like, my girlfriend, Jessica.
We have names in the back of our pocket just ready to go, right?
Completely. His was Jesse. So I said, it's Jesse. And it's just all so silly now in hindsight. But I did all of that because then by the time I started like dating openly, because they were like, you're lying to us too much. I said, okay, well, if you don't want me to lie to you, then you're gonna have to accept the truth. And then the truth is, here are the boys. And you know, I had like black boyfriends, I had white boyfriends, I had everything, and like they couldn't do anything about it. I also left the country. That helped.
Where did you go?
Well, I left Canada to the US, but I
see.
went by myself. I went on I left on a $50 megabus.
And that's not normalized where we come from. Like the same way I'm here alone and they're over there, you know, like I'm getting like flashbacks. You sitting your parents down and being like, I don't want to date, or I am dating like people that you wouldn't expect me to date. I remember mid-20s, my mom's like, so like, when are you getting married? Like, what's happening for you? Like, are you dating anyone? Because for the longest time, boys are not allowed, right? Like, no, like that can't happen. But then I was dating someone for 2.5 years. Okay. And I'm like a grown ass woman. Like I'm 25 now, 26. And my mom has no idea that I'm living this double life. Right. So I sit her down. I'm like, listen, she's like, just tell me, like, share with me. Like, I'm like your best friend. I'm like, okay. You want to be my bestie? Sure. Dating a white man. He's an atheist. And we've been dating for 2.5 years. probably going to end up getting married. And this is the tea. And she was shook, but then supportive. But yeah, I'm just getting like flashbacks because up until like 22, 23, nope, no boys allowed. And then just by 24, why aren't you married? Like, what's going on?
Yeah. I mean, you're still good that you're marrying the person that you're dating for 2.5 years. I just fucked a lot.
Period.
for a good long time. And then I was like, all right, I guess now it's time. No, I met him at the right time. But yeah, no, I get all of that. It's just, it's not normal for our culture. But I'm just trying to break all of that because I don't have time to be living a double life anymore and to be lying to people and all of that. So for me, it was like once I left home, I was like, what am I lying about? Like, I live my own life. Like, you're going to yell at me and then I can hang up the phone and off I go, you know? So, but I definitely didn't do the traditional thing. I came on a megabus with no job, no visa, 2 bags of clothes, nowhere to stay. And I called up a girlfriend that I was like, can I crash on your couch for 2 weeks? And it turned into like a month and a half. And then I figured it out. But I didn't get financial help from my parents. Like, I literally left. So it's great to be where I am at now. And also I'm always just trying to tell South Asian women and just women who come from, various cultures to, find the areas that you can push back because your parents are going to be fine with it down the line. Usually.
Anyone that's listening that's probably thinking like, do I do this? Do I not do this? Because, they're feeling like their parents are strict. And I feel like people that are listening are probably feeling so seen because I feel seen because same thing happened to me. Another thing I want to talk to you about is your podcast, Kind of Dating. So 300 plus episodes, amazing. No commitment issues there. But you do talk about commitment issues on the podcast. And I think this is, globally, everyone's asking the question, like, do I have commitment issues? Do other people have commitment issues that I'm dating? I want to know what are like some of the answers that people told you why they have commitment issues that really like stuck with you? Or why did you have commitment issues?
Well, you'll be surprised. Most people don't believe they have commitment issues, which is how you know that they have commitment issues. I started the podcast because I was a commitment phobe, a hardcore commitment phobe. And that's why the podcast was called Kinda Dating, because nobody said they're in a relationship anymore. And everybody's always like, I'm kind of dating this guy, I'm kind of dating this girl. And, we started this podcast before people had podcasts, which is why there are 300 plus episodes of it. But the idea was that I had done a lot of the work on myself. I went to therapy for years and I really applied what I learned. And I became what I called a reformed commitment phobe, which meant that I still had those tendencies, but I knew how to work through it. And the podcast was never aimed at people who were like the fuck boys or the fuck girls. It was never like that. It was really about everybody in between who doesn't believe that they have commitment issues, but are clearly making the wrong decisions over and over and over and over and over again. So it's like the people who were like me, which was I would date guys who were emotionally unavailable constantly, right? But I was really smart. So I would just turn to people and ask them, and this is a question I asked myself, which was, I was like, am I smart or am I dumb? If I'm dumb, you can forgive it. Ignorance is bliss, right? Like you can forgive somebody who doesn't know better. But when you're smart, you go, you know what you're doing. And I very conscious, very deep down, subconsciously knew what I was doing. And so it's, dating people who are emotionally unavailable, dating long distance. I was known for my friends, we called them by their cities. I was at one point I was dating a guy in London, Philly, Vancouver, and New York, and this is all while I was in Toronto still. So I was just and that just showed. And then I was doing that for a long time, dating people. One of my boyfriends for 2.5 years was in India. What the fuck was I thinking? You know what I mean?
You knew it wasn't going to work out. So you were like, okay, let's just keep it going.
Yeah. And that was the thing. For me, it was oh, I'm in something, but I'm free. And I never cheated on anybody, but it was just this constant of dating people who I knew better. I should not be dating. And then I really had to do the deep digging and do the work and realize I was the only constant in my life, but also trying to figure out why I was doing that. And to me, and I'm going to get real deep for a second, but my personal belief of why people have these commitment issues is because we are a generation that does not have the tools to cope. So when something doesn't go our way, we don't have the tools to cope with how to deal with that situation correctly, which is why therapy is so important. Therapy doesn't fix you. It gives you tools so that when you have a stress or a problem, you know how to tackle it. But imagine your toolbox having no tools in it. And so, you have furniture you need to build, but you don't know how to build it because you don't have a hammer and you don't have a screwdriver. We're a generation that doesn't have the tools. So instead, when we deal with a problem like, hey, we met somebody who broke our heart, or we meet somebody it just doesn't work with, we don't know how to gently let that go and just go, hey, this wasn't a fit, moving on. We're just like, I never want, I'm throwing this piece of furniture out. I don't even want to, I'm never building it again. I'm going to just buy some fucking used furniture that's ready, but it's busted up. And hey, that might work down the line. We refuse to deal with the pain.
Exactly. And that's why a lot of people have still yet to go to therapy because they're running away from the version that they would have to face when they finally get the tools and they start to fix themselves, because that is a lot scarier and harder than just living the way you're living and you're comfortable.
Yeah. And that's why the main advice that, I gave on the podcast over and over, it sounds so simple, but when I realized this, it really changed my life, which was, you're going to be okay. It's that simple. If you have a breakup, you're going to be okay. Not right away, maybe, but down the line, you will be okay. When you realize that you stop becoming so scared of putting yourself out there, and you start sinking into, you start becoming more grounded and secure in your behaviors with everybody, because you know that you'll be okay. The lengths that we go to for self-preservation is insane. And avoidance is really a great example of self-preservation. It's just us trying to preserve a part of us that doesn't want to break down, because we will feel less than if somebody breaks our heart. But when you start teaching yourself, you're okay, nothing about you is less than, nothing about you has changed. It's just sometimes it doesn't work out. Everybody has their own needs. It kind of takes the weight off of it. At least that's what helped me. And so those are kind of the things we passed on in the podcast.
Support comes from ServiceNow. We're for people doing the creative work they actually want to do. That's why this ad was written and read by a real person and not AI. You know what people don't want to do? Boring, busy work. Now with AI agents built into the ServiceNow platform, you can automate millions of repetitive tasks in every corner of your business, IT, HR, and more, so your people can focus on the work that they want to do. That's putting AI agents to work for people. It's your turn. Visit servicenow.com.
Your snacking routine can get a little dull. Time for an Oikos remix or Light and Fit remix. Like a crunchy storm of sea salt praline pretzels, dark chocolate, and butter toffee, showering down into a smooth, creamy yogurt. Enjoy 6 remix varieties, 3 Epic Complete Protein Oikos remix options, or 3 craveable Light and Fit remix options. See remixyogurt.com.
One of the biggest lessons and the hardest truth in terms of, going after unavailable people is you love men or women that don't love you back because you don't love yourself. And then when you don't believe that you're enough, their rejection feels like the truth rather than just redirection, because it's not meant to work with everyone. The fascinating thing that you said is you said, I was a commitment phobe and long distance doesn't work for me. This is validation that I am also a reformed commitment phobe, because I recently was talking to someone that was long distance, and I'm like, long distance doesn't work for me because I want to be present. I want you to be present. So, okay, talk to me about how you met your husband. I want to hear that story.
Oh, yeah. Well, I will say long distance can work if you have an end goal. That's the key thing. But usually most people don't have end goals and they're just kind of like, oh, but I met this person on vacation. It was so great. And like, let's just see where it goes. And then they never end up coming up with like the plan to end that situationship. My husband and I hate that word, by the way, because if you know the podcast, you know, I said for my entire life that I would never get married. And here I am eating my words. We got married last September in Spain. That's where he's from. But we met here in LA. So we met on Hinge. Our third date was on a Saturday. And they announced lockdown on a Thursday. And so we were just like, hey, want to come over? And just like never left. But it worked out because we were both on the same page about lockdowns. So at the time, it was very scary. This is literally like right at the start of this whole thing, COVID. And we had a discussion where it was like, hey, for safety, is it cool if we just keep it to you and I? And so because of that, we became exclusive right away, which is not something I normally do or did. So I would at least go a month and a half, 2 months before I like made it exclusive with somebody. But because we were both, the interesting thing is separately, we realized that our second date, something shifted in both of us. But we never told the other person until like a year later.
What shifted?
When I came back from the second date, I told my friends, I said, and I'm a very cautiously optimistic person. I'm not like super optimistic about myself. But I said, I think I had the best date of my life. Just like that. And they were like, holy shit, because I never say that. I've never enjoyed a date. So I was just like, wow, that was interesting. And he had separately told his friends the same thing. And we didn't know that until like a year into our relationship. But yeah, so the second date, something shifted for both of us. So by the third date, which was the lockdown, we kind of locked down together. We became exclusive right away. And then the rest I say is like kind of his like luck. The fact that two strangers ended up basically living together during a lockdown and got along and had the best time ever. And then we got married last September in Spain, where he's from, and in the countryside of Madrid. A very fairy tale wedding for somebody who never wanted to get married. I'm very, very cognizant of all of this, guys. But it was beautiful.
It's right out of a Bollywood movie, right? Like pretty much sounds like you met the guy, you knew like so early in, like this is probably going to be the guy. And then you were just forced to be together. I always say life doesn't give a shit about your plans. Like you grew up saying, I'm not going to get married. I'm not going to get married. And then life is just like, okay, cool.
I will say I have never believed in the when you know, you know. And I didn't know on the second date. I just felt like something shifted. Because I've had such, and I'm telling you, a reform commitment phobe, I know that my go-to setting can be commitment phobe run. So even during the relationship, I'm just very honest about it with people that like, I had so many fears come up of how come this is so easy? How come everything's fine? Is something going to go wrong? Is he hiding something? And, and like constantly worrying about what was going to happen. And the only way I got through that was by breathing and reminding myself, just put one foot in front of the other, one foot in front of the other. So I didn't even think like he and I to this day talk about how mind-blowing it is that we're married. Because nowhere in these 5 years did I go like, yep, I'm going to get married to this person, because I truly never wanted to get married. I just knew I wanted to be with him forever. That I can say. I can say that. I can say at some point I was like, yep, this is my person. But the marriage thing and like wanting even more didn't happen until like, it was actually a funny conversation. I said to him that I wanted us to become like more of a unit, but I was going to pitch domestic partnership. Basically, like you're legally together, like the state sees you as together, but you don't have to, you're not officially married. And like, because I said that, he literally the next month asked me to marry him. And all my friends were like, yeah, you dumbass. Like, he has been waiting for this forever. And I said, what are you talking about? They're like, he says it all the time, even when we're all hanging out, that he would love to get married to you, but you don't want to get married. And I was like, yeah, but I wasn't pitching that. But like, of course, if he said yes, I would say yes. I think I said, I mean, if you asked me, I would say yes. But I didn't think that he would ask because I was an asshole. We've literally gone ring shopping, not for me, for him, because I wanted to get him this like cool ring that he wanted. And but I needed to get his measurements. And he fought me to get my ring measured at the ring store. And I kept saying no. Like, I was a real dick about it. So the fact that we did this and he picked out a really nice ring that fit and all, I was like, that's good of you. He's a very patient, good man.
It brings me a lot of joy and hope when I hear these stories. But there's still things in the dating scene that, like different factors that make it like harder, right? Like COVID was one, right? Like you couldn't really talk to people in like an in-person setting. You had to navigate that. Then there are like, core values that don't align and things like that. But I think now politics is a big thing. I know you've spoken about this.
And here's my thing is like, can you? Yeah. I mean, you can do anything.
Sure.
I can lick the bottom of my shoe. You know what I mean? I can do anything.
Yes.
Do I want to do it?
Right.
Is it beneficial for me, moving me forward? I don't know. Is it giving me peace of mind? I don't know. Because like now I just don't want to have those discussions. I don't want to have unnecessary debates with people.
No.
I also feel that politics has changed dating, which is so real, right? Because it is one of, like, for me, it's one of my core values. If we don't align politically on certain things, then like, it's just, we don't see eye to eye. And I don't want to stay here and teach you, nor do I want you to stay here and teach me your views. Like, I'm open to views, but at the end of the day, I believe in what I believe, right? So I guess my question to you is, what have you noticed about like cultural and political shifts and how they're shaping like modern dating?
It's really affecting dating a lot. And like, I will say, I have dated before, like pre-Trump days, and I used to date not by choice, just kind of happened. I've dated a couple Republicans, and I'm a very open, liberal Democrat. I have respect for everybody, but that's how I would vote. But before that, before Trump, I used to very open, like I've dated Republicans, libertarians, whatever the fuck they want to call themselves. And it was okay, because most of the time they were like fiscally conservative, and it was like, all right, whatever, suck my non-existent dick, but like moving on, But then when, like after Trump, everything just shifted. It's just become a lot more radical on both sides. And I think it's much harder now to not clash on these very important issues for some people, right? Where before it used to be you were fiscally conservative. Now it could be, well, you're pro-life, which, hey, it's totally fine to be pro-life. I'm not shitting on anybody's personal beliefs. But what I'm saying is that if you are now, let's say, in a marriage or a relationship with somebody and something actually happens where one person is pro-life and one's pro-choice, that can cause serious issues in a relationship, right? Because everybody has their own belief system and it's one person's body versus the other person's body. There are a lot more factors to consider now. And it really just depends. Like I talked about this on the podcast and some people got mad at me, and I was like, you might want to live in like a lovely rom-com version of life, which is like, yeah, a Republican and a liberal today can like get married. Sure. Yeah. Anything can happen. But they're like, you can get married. Just don't talk about politics. I'm like, what part? How many? Do you want me to show you how many times my phone blows up in a day of how every aspect of life is right now being determined by politics? So it's really hard not to talk about this very important thing that is affecting the global state of affairs, So when people say that, I'm like, okay, like, yeah, sure. Maybe there are some people who are okay to avoid that. So God bless you. Like, you can totally and should do that. But I respect when others are like, no, this just doesn't suit I just don't want to be arguing with my partner all the time. That's where I came to. For me, it's like, I have lots of friends who actually identify as conservative. My family's conservative. I respect everybody. But my thing is, I don't want to have arguments in my home anymore. Like, it's just like, life is hard enough. I just don't want to have these debates and discussions. But hey, if somebody else wants to and you got time, like, God bless.
I know you're with your partner now, but prior to your partner, can you think of a time when you were dating someone and you're liberal, they were Republican, and like, was there like a big argument that happened?
No, actually, it's funny because every time I think they were much more like, oh, I mean, I'm a Republican, but like fiscally, like I don't mind, like all the social issues they were saying that they were liberal about, and I was just like, okay, like, is a weird thing. I think the only one situation that happened, and it was never a fight. I actually never argued with any of them about it because, again, this is pre-Trump days. People didn't argue at that level about this stuff. It was just it feels like a different time. It's just become much more divisive and it's become a topic that really rips people apart, sadly. So before that, we never really had those discussions. But one time I was with this guy that I've talked a lot about him on the podcast. People know him. I called him Bruce Lee. He wasn't even Asian, but he was a white guy who he was like a 4-time black belt or some shit like that. So I called him Bruce Lee. He had a friend. He was very white. And his friend once came over super drunk and started talking about politics. And I was trying to keep quiet because whatever. And they started going at it. But this one friend started saying about how he got jumped by 4 Mexican guys. And because of that, he kind of hates Mexicans. And then he was just saying that he was drunk and now started going into what I call like crazy zone. Like, you know, when sometimes people's eyes, they just kind of glaze over and they've gone into another reality. So he was just like, all these brown people, they want me dead. They want me dead. And he's just screaming. And I was just like, whoa, this is intense. And I was just watching him. And I put my hand up and I said like, hey man, like I'm brown. I don't want you dead. And then he was just like, and he was just thrown by that. And he went to the kitchen. And my guy I was dating at the time was like, hey, I'm really sorry about that. I was like, it's okay. And I went to the other room into the kitchen and he was like huffing with his back turned. And he's a big dude. And I went up behind him and I gave him a hug. And I've never met this person. It was my first time meeting this person. And immediately his body went, I'm so sorry. And he started crying and this whole thing. And I was like, hey man, like I know bad things happen to all of us, but I don't think we need to generalize about everybody because this isolated bad thing happened to you. And I just want you to know that like not everybody wants you dead. And I know that, you know, what happened is terrible, but know that there are people who like want you here and like including me. And then he just was so shook by it. And the guy I was dating was just like, what the fuck? And that just also taught me that sometimes we are so angry at each other and it's from some pain. And which is why I don't like when I talk to my conservative friends, I don't call them names. I don't say like you're this or you're that. I just go like, okay, like we don't have to agree. That's it. Like, it's cool. You are welcome to live your life. Don't call me any names. I won't call you names. Maybe that's all we need is just to acknowledge each other's pain a little bit and be like, yeah, I'm sorry. That sucks. Agree to disagree.
That's so powerful. You fully had the chance to, you know, retaliate, be like, fuck you. Like, you talk shit about me. I don't need to be nice to you. But I think you showed kindness and he's going to remember that forever. And I hope, I mean, I'm assuming he won't go around and say that to the next person now. So you literally not only saved him from saying that, but you also saved the next person to not hear that. And that's amazing. So I'm really, really happy you did that.
Yeah, thank you. I just feel like we can all like constructively disagree with each other. Like I'm a very loudmouth Democrat, but I don't call people names. Trust me, there's enough just real stuff that we can talk about.
I agree. It's just kind of like that mutual understanding that like we can agree to disagree, and at the end of the day continue to live life based on what we believe is true and feels authentic, as opposed to normalizing what we don't think is right. So to leave people with something, for anyone listening right now who feels stuck or know that they were meant to live life differently or love differently, but they're scared, what would you say to them?
I just say that like you have one life and it's very finite. You know, I know, especially when you're young, sometimes you think, oh, nothing can happen. And I learned very young. When I was 21, I got Lyme disease, but we thought that I maybe had cancer, because I had lost like 12 pounds in 2 weeks, and I went through a whole ringer. And at one point, I literally thought that I was going to die because I couldn't leave my bed, and I was so frail that my mom was like feeding me spoons of rice, you know, and I just realized like life is very short, but it's beautiful. So all you got to do is just like experience it. And I know it feels scary, but at the end of the day, it's your life. And I don't mean that in like, oh, fuck off, it's your life. It's really that, and this is going to sound morbid, but it's not. At the end of the day, the experience of your life is truly your own. Whether you laugh or you cry or you die, the experience is your own. Nobody else, they can sit next to you, but you're in your body. Nobody knows what you're experiencing but you. So how can we keep giving that away to other people? How can we keep giving our life away to other people when the truth is everybody will come and go? We are the only constant in our lives. And sometimes it's easier to give our life to other people because we don't want to face the repercussions. We don't want to face hardship. And I'll tell you, when I left home, it was hard. I had no money. I've been almost broke multiple times in my life, but I figured it out and I was okay. And there's always like a way to be okay. And you're never alone. So you can call up friends, there are resources. I mean, find me on the internet. Like there's always somebody there for you to like live, not just your authentic life, but like just the life you want, and you deserve that. And it's okay. And like, even if it comes with some hardships, like you're strong enough, you can handle it. You'll be okay.
I think you're speaking to a lot of people that probably needed to hear this. And you're right. You get one life. And when you're happy, you're there to experience it. When you're sad, no one else is there to like wipe your tears. You know, like you're going through everything. Life is also short, but it's very long when you're not living your most authentic self. Thank you so much for leaving me with that and for being so honest and so thoughtful. And again, I'm so sorry to hear that you were diagnosed with Lyme disease.
It's okay. I joke that I should be like Bubble Girl, but if they made a remix of Bubble Boy, it would be me as Bubble Girl. I have had Lyme disease. I had 2 head injuries. I'm like constantly having something. It's okay.
Well, all is good now, though. You seem
yes. I mean, it's dormant now. So I was sick for many years, but they eventually figured it out, and we took meds, and I was okay. But it was a long journey. Lyme disease is not a fun one, which could be a whole other podcast. But I don't want to get into that for you. But now it's dormant, and I'm out here living life.
If people want to learn more about you, see more of your stuff, where can they find you on socials?
You can find me. Oh my gosh, I'm going to be your complicated friend right now because other people have taken all my handles, but it's Natasha Chandale on Instagram, Natasha.Chandale on TikTok. and then you can see Kinda Dating. Though we have retired the podcast very recently, there are 300 episodes for you guys to go back and listen to. We've had lots of amazing guests. So it's at Kinda Dating or Kinda Dating wherever you get your podcasts.
I will definitely be following you. And thank you for reminding us that it is okay to rewrite the story, to stop explaining, and it's okay to also change our minds and to walk away from the box and start building a life that actually feels like yours. And for everyone listening, if you love the episode, share it with a friend, leave a review, tag us at immigrantlypods on Instagram or immigrantly on TikTok, or also at whatthemehek_. And see you all next Friday. Lovely is an Immigrantly media production. This episode was produced by Saadia Khan and Shei, written by me, Mehak. Music, sound design, and editing by Lou Raskin. Other music is by Epidemic Sound. Tune in every Friday for more Lovely.